Certainly one of the most important things about managing a database is keeping it secure. And if you are the administrator, then your job is to make sure that people have the right role on the database. If you have multiple users on a database, then some people are going to need to have more permissions than others. So it's your job to be able to create the users but define the users for their role to make sure that you keep them productive with their data, but also to make sure that you keep the database safe. So in this section, what we're going to do is take a look at how you create users, but also how you define their user role. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the toolbar and click on Tools. Then we're going to come down and click on Manage Users. When we do that, it will load the Manage Users tool. And as you can see, we have Bill Ferguson and Chris Huffman as users. Both are administrators. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple more people, but they're not going to be administrators. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click on Create a New User. When we click on Create New User, the system asks us, well, did you want to create a brand new user, even somebody who's not on this database? Or did you want to create a user from a contact? What we're going to do is we're going to create a user from a contact, and then we're going to click on Next. Now, notice that Ernst Anderson is also with CH Gourmet Gifts. And what I'm going to do is let Ernst help me out in managing this database. So we're going to click on Ernst's name and then click on Next. Now, I'm going to give Ernst a role of manager. But what we're going to do is click on the drop down, and notice that it defaults to standard. Standard is just a normal role, and it's the most commonly assigned. It means that people can add contacts to the database, they can delete contact data, they can attach the records, they can do all the things that they need to do to remain productive as a user of ACT. They certainly cannot add new users, and they can't delete new users. They can't import databases or export databases. And so we're going to give just a little bit higher role, almost an administrator role, to Ernst so that he can help us out. Now what he won't be able to do is delete users that I create. He won't be able to see private records. He's not quite an administrator, but he's got a pretty high role as a manager. And what we're going to do then is click on Finish and let the system create that role. And notice then that it shows Ernst as a manager active pending a logon. And notice that if we wanted to do this and have multiple people logged on to the same database, then we might need to pay Sage a little bit more money for some more ACT licenses. But what it says, what it did, because I clicked on Finish, is it said, okay, well, I'll make him active pending a logon. But if he is going to log on at the same time as someone else in a multiple user database, then somebody's got to give me some licenses. And that's what it's saying down here. You don't have enough licenses in this database to support the number of users, so they can't all be logged on at the same time. That's okay. If we decide that we actually want to make all of this a multiple user database, then we'll just buy the licenses. So while we're at it, let's go ahead and add one more. We're going to add a browsing account. So we're going to click on Create New User, and then we're going to create a user from a contact and click on Next, and we're going to add Betty Browser. So we'll click on Next, and notice then that Betty Browser, we could put in a password. We could have put in a password for Ernst as well, or we could leave the password blank. The user can set the password as long as they have at least a standard role. So we're going to click on Finish and let the system then create Betty as well. So you can see that it's simple to create users and to define their role in the database. And that's part of database security. Another big part of database security is being able to make sure that we don't lose the data. and that comes from the ability to back up the database. So in our next section, we'll discuss backing up the database. That's next.